What's up, guys? Gonna do an overview video of two knives that are not my own, but I've had them for a few months now. I got these in from YouTube member SP Silvgo. She lent them to me to kind of test out. I didn't really want to test them. They're not my knives. I didn't want to do the rope test because it does pose the risk of scratching a blade. And I didn't want to carry them because, again, they're not my knives, and it's not that I'm scared I'm going to hurt them. It's just that if somebody else had my knives, I'm not sure I would want them carrying them around, beating them up against cars, clips, hitting cars, and all that kind of stuff. Not that it happens a lot, but stuff happens. So pretty much I just kept them, fondled them, studied them, and then sharpened them. So it's time to go back to Sue. So I was going to just make a video and show her the edges and give my thoughts on them. First is the Grayman Dua. I've wanted a Grayman for a while. After seeing them, they're just really tough knives. It's all metal. There's nothing in this knife that's not titanium or steel. So it's a big, beefy knife. Not really big, but it's a beefy knife. You have an S30V blade. You have a titanium frame lock, which it's a beefy frame lock. Something unique about this knife is you have a pivot bushing, something along the lines of what's in a Para 2. So you can crank down the pivot all the way, and yet it'll swing freely. As you see, when I push the lock bar out, it swings freely. Just about cut myself there. So I sharpened this one up. Sue, I did not lay the edge back far, because as you can see, the blade is thick and the edge is pretty far back to begin with. If I would have pushed it back any further, you would have had a bevel that was way up the knife. So this is like a 44 degree inclusive edge, I think, but it does cut really well. The grind is off a little bit, so the bevel's nice and even over here, but since the grind is a little bit, I think it's lower over here, it's a little bit thicker, so it gets thicker at the tip. It's not a big deal though. I like the way it looks. It looks good with a nice polished bevel. This is a really cool knife. It is really sharp, really grabs the skin, but it won't whittle hair because it is a pretty obtuse edge. But it is sharp, and I think you'll enjoy using it. I like this knife. I didn't know what to think of it at first, but I do like it. The only gripe I have with it is the recurve. I wish they did not have a recurve, and I wish that they didn't put this little protrusion down here. It just was an edge that was kind of in line with this part right here, just straight back without this little nub. Other than that, the knife is awesome. It's really comfortable because it has no funky grooves. It's just a comfortable kind of plank shape. It does fit your hand nicely. The jimping is really good. It's big cut jimping, but it's not sharp, so it doesn't hurt your hand. The thumb studs are pretty unique, and they serve their function perfectly. There's not much not to like about this knife. It's smooth as butter, perfectly centered. Just a really nice knife. I think Grayman does a lot of work for the military. Like a lot of servicemen buy these knives, and I can see why. They're just beefy, super beefy knives. I think Sue is actually selling this. Don't quote me on that, so don't go spamming her with messages. But if she confirms that she is selling it, maybe in the comments or something, then you guys can contact her. And if you want it, get it from her. I think I remember her saying she's selling it. Don't know. I can't remember for sure. Next knife is the Tim Galyean Pro Series small junkyard dog. This is a full custom knife. I think this is kind of like a mid-tech, and this is definitely a full custom knife. Tim Galyean is a young guy. I think he's my age, and he works for Kershaw and ZT. Custom knife maker, makes some incredible stuff. I'll go ahead and show you the edge, I guess. This is, I forget what angle this is. I think it's 20 on each side. I think it's a 40 degree inclusive edge. could be like 38, but it whittles hair, so you'll get to experience a hair whittling edge. It does have a bit of damage right in here. There was a little, it wasn't a roll and it wasn't a chip, it was more like a dent that I got mostly out, but it's still there just a tiny bit. I didn't want to grind away that much steel. So I left it there, and that'll come out in the next sharpening, whoever does it. But the edge is hair whittling. It's just that if you push cut paper, it'll kind of snag on that little point. It'll go right through it, but you'll feel it. So if you cut with it, Sue, and you notice that, that's why. There's just one little spot of damage somewhere in here. I could have gotten it out, but it would have been a lot of grinding, and I didn't want to take a whole lot of steel from one section of the edge. Anyway, it does whittle hair, and it's really, really sharp. It's one of those edges when you touch it, if you start to slide your fingers, your brain tells you to stop, because you know it'll cut you pretty much instantly if you do. It's sticky sharp. Have you ever heard people say sticky sharp? Anyway, enough about the edge. Tim Galyean junkyard dog, small junkyard dog, CPM 154 blade. It's got the IKBS, Acomacorth bearing system. Really super duper smooth. The KVT system in Kershaw, the Kershaw uses, is really smooth, but there's something about IKBS, it's just, it feels uninhibited. It's, I don't know if it's because this is worn in or what, but it's just, you have to try to get the blade not to deploy. And there's really not that strong of a detent, so it's not the detent that's making it fly out, it's just that it's that smooth. And there is absolutely zero blade play, horizontally or vertically. Something I want to point out that Tim does that I really, really like is his locking geometry. I've showed this in a different video, but you see how early the lockup is, and it's just such a solid lockup. You cannot push the lock bar in further, no matter what, which means the geometry is pretty much perfect, and yet it does not stick in the least bit. Like, there is literally zero stick, none to speak of. It is just a beautiful knife. I guess since I'm already zoomed up, I'll do a little macro shot of it. It was a used knife that Sue sent to me, so it does have some use marks on it, but honestly, I was thinking about telling her name the price and I would get it, but money's tight right this second, so I can't. But there you can see what CPM 154, the IKBS symbol, the nice flipper, the super nice machining. Tim Galyean makes some crazy pocket clips. This is one of his better looking pocket clips, but he can make some really funky ones. I love this knife. It is absolutely one of my favorite knives. If you ever get a chance to hold one, do it, because it's really comfortable. I do wish that it was bigger. It's a little small for my hands. If you've ever felt a knife that was too small for your hands, but you could tell that if the ergonomics were scaled up just a little bit, it would be perfect, that's how this feels. His jimping is really crazy, but it's really functional. It's not raised up, it's actually cut in. It looks like it wouldn't be grippy at all, but it actually is. It's really grippy. The harder you push, the more it grips. But it's not sharp or painful. You have the nice blue standoffs. Just everything about this knife is trick and awesome. You don't see knives like this a lot. I don't think Tim actually makes customs right now anymore, or maybe he shut down his order book. But if you can get a hold of one of these, I say do it, because they are amazing. Anyway, I guess I'll wrap this up. Sue, I'm going to be sending these off to you Monday. Let me know what you think. And thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.